Hello and welcome to another episode of Journey to the Rise. I'm your host, Lucretia. In today's episode, we continue our conversation with Erick Prince, a travel journalist. In this episode, we talk about reflecting back as a kid and how it can help us as an adult. We talk about nap time, our imagination, and what can be possible when we rise up through our own chaos. Erick recently posted on his Insta story that he is back in action. So be sure to follow him on Instagram and YouTube to check out new content that he will be actively sharing. Let's not delay this inspirational conversation. Please welcome Erick Prince. Oh, I love that. So you spoke about a time when you were back in the U.S. and being back reminded you of a lot of things, and many of them sad and frustrating, but you continued on saying how you were reminded of the importance of what you are doing, how you offer the opportunity for people to see the world, you give a glimmer of hope, and it reminded you of the 10-year-old that once read National Geographic and Reader's Digest, and how in a time of anger we will be served well by taking a step back and talking to our 10-year-old self. Do you think your 10-year-old self is proud of you?
I'll be my hero. Like you look. I mean, honestly, it was. I really, really, truly believe that if I had met myself at 10, 11, 12, 13, and I had a chance to talk to myself, I wouldn't believe me. I really would not believe the life that I lived, because none of this was even a blink in my mind at that age. I never thought I'd get that far away from Cleveland necessarily. And because, you're not taught that, you're not taught to dream that big. You didn't see anybody like us doing what I'm doing. And you look back and I'm like, my God, if more people, like we weren't divided by sexuality then, we weren't divided by politics then, we weren't divided by nationality. We were just trying to navigate the world and learn as much as possible. All we cared, think about this at 10 years old. This is what we cared about. We cared about having as much fun as possible with the people that we loved and we cared about. We were trying to learn and discover as much as possible, and we wanted to eat really good food. That's what we wanted to do as kids. There was nothing else that existed. That was our entire mentality and our entire day. Like my favorite time was nap time at school. I love taking naps. I love taking naps because I could dream about really cool stuff to do, and then I would get up and I would make blocks, and then I would kick them over, and then make them again. It was like that excitement that is heartbreaking that so many people have lost that. And life is a bitch. Like, life is rough. Life is really rough. And I know anybody who's listening to this, like, oh, Erick, it's easy for you to say it because you're living a dream, blah, blah, blah. Yo, I was in war. 2 wars, five tours of duty. Trust me, I know pain and suffering and conflict and the negative side. I grew up in East Cleveland in the 80s and 90s. I'm very well aware of how rough life is and can be. But if you step back out of this chaos that we have as adults now, out of this ego that we've built up around ourselves, making ourselves the center of the universe, and by proxy, where we're from, the center of the universe, we start to see how small we truly are. We start to see how limited our time is here. And we start to appreciate the little things, the very little things that make life truly worth living. It's baffling, man. I saw a report that the average age of retirement in the U.S. was 67, and the average age of death was 78. So you work about 49 to 50 years to get to a point where you kind of have the time to travel. And by that time, most people aren't even physically able to go. And given how the U.S. pension system works now, can't even afford to explore. You gotta step back. You have to step back and say, okay, what would I have done if I was 13 years old? Let's not even say 10. If I was 13 years old and I have this privilege, this freedom. We have a freedom now. We have a freedom to do whatever we want. No matter, the job you're in is the job you chose. The family dynamic you have is the family dynamic that you chose. And I'm talking to everybody in their 20s and 30s at this point. The decisions that you have made are your decisions. You can change those. It's not society's fault at this point. It's not your environment. It's you. And this is really tough for a lot of people to hear. Like, most people aren't told it's your fault. It's on you, and you have to shift and adjust. Whenever you run into these problems and these issues in life, ask yourself, what did I do to contribute to those or perpetuate that? And then what did I do to fix it or change it? And then we can start looking externally. As kids, this is what we do as children. We look at the adults around us for guidance. But ultimately, we're like, okay, I'm not going to touch that fire anymore because I learned that it's hot. It feels like as adults, we forget how to learn our lesson. And we keep doing the same silly stuff over and over. Social media. Number one rule of social media, don't read the comments. Don't read the comments. And what do? We read the comments. Social media is toxic. Social media is social media is bad. It's giving us body image. What do? We log in every single day. It was something like a report came out that people touch your phone 2,000 times on average a day. They tap it around 2,000 average times. I have to relook at the research. I was like, that sounds a little bit high. But when I think about it, I'm like, if you think about every swipe that you make in whatever session you do, I'm like, ooh, I mean, that's easily, 50 times. I pick up my phone, swipe through, boop, 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 gone. I was like, oh my goodness. So when I think back to myself when I was a kid, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I think to what I'm doing today, I would truly be my hero. I would truly strive to be like me when I grew up. And I think everybody should look at it that way. Like, ask yourself, are you truly proud of who you are now? And, we get into this, this give and take to, I worked hard for this amount of time and I did this company. But would you be proud? Would you be happy with that? If it all ended right now, would you be happy with the legacy that you leave behind? Like, I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people could say yes to that, So, to answer your question, the long way around is, yes, I would be my absolute hero and look up to myself and want to be just like me.
I love that. And I absolutely appreciate that you're willing to say people are not, they're pointing to other things. Oh, it's that fault. It's the fault of that. It reminded me of a poem that a man by the name of Ray Hunt had recited. He did not write the poem. He recited it. It was A Man in the Mirror. And it basically came down, stop pointing the finger and start pointing the thumb. And so when you were saying that, I'm like, oh, I need to say
it's yeah, and this isn't new. Like, this isn't a new idea or a concept. I was in the military for 10.5 years, and I mean, that is drilled in us from day one. Like, it's on you. Like, this is all on your shoulders, and by you being accountable for your actions, you maintain the structure of your squad, of your team. Every single person is responsible for themselves, and the reason that we go so hard on ourselves is because our ability to ensure that our team is strong and solid. It goes back to the concept of the weakest link. Like, if everybody's strong, we gonna be all right. We gonna be good. And, that's what it comes down to. It's extreme ownership. I want to say it was Jocko Willink. I absolutely adore his book. And it was like, extreme ownership. What did I do to cause this situation? And what can I do to get out of it?
I love that. That's amazing. Absolutely. Yes. Now, you mentioned with just this conversation and also your 10-year anniversary of your career, how does it feel to look back on the past 10 years? Is there a particular experience that stands out to you?
I'm old. It looks like I'm getting old.
Far from old. You're far from old.
But you know what? It validated a lot of the choices. Now, and this is the interesting thing, and I've been reflecting on this a lot. A lot of people, and I see a lot of people with this idea, and I briefly touched on it. It's like, oh, it's easy for you to say. It's easy for you to say. Well, yeah, it's easy for me to say in hindsight. But those of us who started this over a decade ago, we didn't know what we were doing. We just took a chance on us. We took a risk on us. I didn't care about algorithms. I didn't care about the market. I didn't care about anything. I believed in me and my work ethic and my drive and my determination and my ability to adapt and evolve and change and survive. I'm like, I'm going to eat. That was never a mystery about me. I can grow my own food. I'll be all right. I'll figure it out. I grew up from the dirt. I'm a rose. I'm that's where I'm from. That's how I'm built, And I look at today. I was talking to my partner today. We were having dinner before this, and we were having a discussion about masculinity, femininity, the war on men as they call it, and all these conversations. And one of the things that I brought up is I think that there was a young man that I was talking to. He was asking about toughness. How do you develop toughness? And if he had to join the military or fighting wars or conflicts like me and several others have. And I'm like, it depends on how you define toughness. And B, I think the world is significantly different. As we evolve as a species, life gets easier. That's who we are as humans. Like, life is not the same as it was 50 years ago. It's definitely not the same as it was 500 years ago. And every generation is going to say that the coming generation has it way easier, blah, blah, blah. But I think that when you look back on the world 10 years ago versus now, I think there's significantly more access to information. I think people are more open to different perspectives. I believe that there's a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of negative bias, but I think ultimately people generally are just good. And I have a 10-year career traveling around the world to prove this fact. People on TikTok or social media can run their mouths all they want, but very few of them have a resume to back it up the way that I do. And I can't think of one travel journalist who walks around with a negative worldview bias. I don't know one of them at all. I know war journalists who literally go to conflict and get shot at for a living who have a positive outlook on the world. Humanity is amazing. People are phenomenal. It's institutions that are the problem.
We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have more from our guest, Erick. And we're going to discuss auditing your friends and the importance of paying attention to who you spend your time with and why it matters. The goal for any business is to grow and reach a new level. Get there faster by being an authority in your industry with a video docu-series. Using video, you can showcase you, your business, your staff, products and services, and most importantly, your why. Building relationships is key, and a high-quality video can give existing and potential clients a way to get to know you. It also allows you to build a connection that results in increased sales. If you would like to know more about how you can enhance your business with video, contact girlbossproductions.com today. Does your website have content that was created by your cousin Danny back in 2008? It sounds like it's time for a refresher. With Girl Boss Copywriter, we work with you to learn about you and your business. We strive to create content that will help you build community and relationships with your existing and prospective clients. With web pages that convert clicks into sales, email sequences that engage your database, you deserve to grow and build your business so that you can live the life you dreamed when you started your business. Working as a girl boss doesn't mean you have to live the hustle culture. It means you recognize when you need to delegate tasks so you can focus on what you do best and let others do the rest. Want to know more about how to have an engaging website and utilize your email list to convert sales and grow your business? Go to girlbosscopywriter.com. Welcome back to Journey to the Rise. We continue our conversation with Erick, and he shares how he experiences similarities when he travels to foreign countries compared to where he grew up, and how people are a lot alike no matter where you go, and how that can bring you comfort in your own journey.
It's division that's the problem. It's how we've allowed these institutions, like certain governments, certain political organizations, certain multinational corporations to dictate and direct how we view each other. Like, you can't tell me, Pepsi, how I'm going to talk to Lucretia. Like, you don't tell me how to view her. Like, whatever, Republican Party or Democratic Party, you don't tell me how I look at Native Americans or how I look at middle class white men. I do that from experiencing these communities, from interacting with them, from talking to them, from having human to human conversations. And my perspective is not one of an American anymore. The longer this goes on is the longer my career goes, the less I feel American, if that makes sense. Because I think there's a very distinct cultural norm within the U.S. that is very individualistic, where we generally think about ourselves. And that benefited us for a very long time. Is, America first and me and my family, and I have to do what's right for us, versus I have to do what's right for all of us globally. Because once you're out here, you start to see. I'll give you an example. I did a job with now is a great friend of mine, Donna. Donna is 67 and from Boston, Massachusetts, and never left the United States. There was are you familiar with AAA in the U.S.?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
AAA owns a travel company called Club Adventures. So they invited me to create videos and photos for their new tour of Cambodia and Vietnam. And we were there for, I believe it was 12 days, a 12-day tour, 10 or 12, I can't recall. This was right before COVID happened. And we did a tour of the Mekong Delta. Like, we're literally on a boat, just me, Donna, and our guide. Mind you, this is a older conservative woman from Boston, Massachusetts. And it was just me and her on this boat with a Cambodian when we were in Cambodia, because we also went on the boats in Cambodia, and a Vietnamese man who's teaching us about not only his country, but the plight of these communities along the Mekong Delta. So a lot of people don't know who actually controls the Mekong River. It's China. China has built dams at the very beginning of the Mekong Delta where they can shut off the flow of an entire river that goes through countries. And that impacts these communities. It's something that there's no reason that a young black kid in Cleveland would ever know that. So for me to be able to have that opportunity to go to Vietnam and be here and talk to these fishermen who've been fishing these waters for generations. Now they have to, what do we do now? They have to hope that the Chinese government feels like it's profitable to open the dams to let water in nature for them to be able to make a living. And, while it's complicated, of course, socioeconomics and geopoliticals and conflict and all that stuff, but humanity is very simple. People want to be able to take care of their families. They want to be able to eat. They want to be able to worship how they choose. Very, very simple across the board. And there are so many institutions that are taking those things away. And in my 10 years, I have started to see how it's not only an American problem, not only a Thai problem, not only a Korean or Chinese problem, it's a global problem. And these institutions tend to be the issue beyond the people.
Wow, what an amazing experience. I love that. And that's kind of scary for those fishermen to not have any control over.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. And you posted in an Insta story, which I love your Insta stories, talking about more ethical travel, healthy living, and sustainability. You're going to be celebrating a birthday soon, so happy birthday to you. And you talked about the different people who have helped you on your journey, and you gave quite a really impressive list. And one that stood out to me, and I hope I don't say her name right incorrectly, was Anika Raymond. With Anika.
Oh yeah, Anika. Yeah, Anika the Traveler.
How did you meet her, and how has she supported you through your career?
Onika, there are very few people who started this career before I did, and she was one of them. I want to say Onika started maybe 2 years before I did, 2.5, when she was a teacher in Hong Kong, I believe. And Onika has been, and that's the thing about being from a marginalized community, is that you have this common cultural bond. And me and Onika were friends online forever. We were just friends, and we just kind of share stories and information. And we just started to meet up in different places around the world, in New York, in London, in Paris, and like we just kept meeting up and just became close personal friends. And one of the things that really bonded us is Onika has a significantly more calm demeanor than I do. I generally say whatever pops in my head at the moment, but she's a lot more strategic about her narratives, and she also understands about how to place your energy, places to put your energy. And she'll calm me down. And Onika is a great example, and Yolanda from Hey Dip Your Toes On. Yolanda runs Hey Dip Your Toes In with her husband Omo, and she's the same. So two black women who are two of the only people in the world that can kind of keep me from going off on organizations and people. And I think Onika is, she's like, hey, do you think this is best to handle publicly or privately? Maybe you can handle this behind the scenes. Maybe you can do a lot more change. And 9.5 times out of 10, I agree with her and I take her route, and it turns out to be the best idea. And not only from a professional standpoint, just from a personal standpoint, to have somebody who understands the journey. As a professional travel journalist, as a full-time traveler, and as a person of color, navigating the world, navigating our industry, she has been nothing more, just a sister. She is my sister from another mister. And I love her, I appreciate her, but she would be at the top of the list of people who've helped me, which is why I mentioned her right out the gate, because Onika has really, she's kept me out of a lot of trouble over the years, and I consider her family.
Yeah, I don't know her personally, but what I've seen in her feed, and she's willing to respond to people. She seems like a very generous, kind person.
Oh, yeah. Phenomenal. And just insanely talented. Just, it's annoying how talented she is, and multilingual, and like she just picked up German because she took a nap and woke up and decided to learn German. It's insane. Her husband's phenomenal also, who's German, but like she's just an impressive human being.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that she's there to support you throughout all these different experiences that you've had. That's phenomenal.
Oh.
Now you did a video.
It was funny. I was.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go. You go.
No. So it was interesting. I made a point, and this was recently. I believe you should surround yourself with friends who you want to be like when you grow up. I'm a firm believer that your friends represent who you truly are. If you're surrounded by toxic, my friends are toxic and always complaining and always broke, you need new friends. But if you surround yourself with creative, hard work, and motivate, I'm like, my God. Like, I look at my friends group, I'm like, yo, I got to get back to work. I was like, I have to keep up with the people that I love. I was like, I can't show up to the gathering without some cool stories too. Like, it's just one of those. It motivates you and it helps you and it puts you in that mindset. Like you really are, and this is why so many people get stuck where they grew up, like because you're surrounded by the same kind of people doing the exact same thing, and it just becomes a cycle. But when you surround yourself with people who are moving and shaking and trying to progress and trying to be better, and who are studying different languages and exploring the world and being better photographers and being creativity, it's only going to rub off on you just by proximity, and it's going to just inspire you and give you access to different forms of information and different perspectives on life. So yeah, like probably one of the biggest tips I give people is you have to constantly audit your friends group. If there's somebody around you, I don't care if you grew up together, I don't care if you're blood relatives, if they aren't making you better, you got to walk away. If they're causing strife, you got to keep it moving because you cannot allow them to bring you down.
Absolutely. Yes. Facts right there. I hear very successful people talk about this, about how I think it's like the top 5 people that you spend time with is your influence, and whether that's your personal
Oh
friends
yeah.
or someone, a comedian or podcaster, like it's influencing you. And I love that you recommend
Oh yeah.
auditing that, because I think a lot of people don't. They're
Uh,
like, oh, Timmy over there, he's fine, even though we just got him out of jail again for the 5th time. Like, how is that
and
affecting?
even sometimes that audit can be a wake up call. I've had friends who I was like, "Look, man, I love you, but I can't. I can't." There was a really good friend of mine who I love him to this day, and I miss him. We haven't spoken, God, at least 4 years now, and because he ended up getting involved in some very seedy things, some very painful stuff, rude, disrespectful, and I'm like, "Look, man, I believe." My friends are a representation of me. Everything you're about right now does not represent me, and I can't be involved. If you decide to be friends again, if you decide to walk away from this stuff, then I'm here for you. But otherwise, we can't be friends. He understood it. He kept on that path. Change. There was a family member who was being very toxic, who had a lot of bad habits. And I'm like, look, until you get better, I've offered you help. You haven't taken it. Until you get better, I won't be in your life. And I walked away. 6 months later, they were getting better, and to this day, they're doing amazing. And sometimes that reality that they can lose somebody they love or care about can be the catalyst for change. You can't change a person who doesn't want to change themselves, but you can decide if you want to allow that person to drag you down or not.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. And I'm going to switch gears over to a video that you did about Romanian barbecue. Now, that video, I really enjoyed it because it
Love
wasn't.
Romania.
Because your video was journalistic, but it was conversational, and it was really a lot of fun to watch. And like, I felt like I was part of the experience. And I was just curious, how does Romanian barbecue compare to Texas barbecue?
Oh, come on. Oh, okay, now you're getting out of control. You're getting out of control because nowhere compares to Texas barbecue. You got to calm down here a little bit. But you know what? Honestly, the cool thing about traveling the world is that you see similarities very quickly. And it's like Romanian barbecue. It's pretty solid. They don't know how to season their meat, and they don't use a lot of sauces, but it's solid. I think the videos you were talking about are the main person in those videos. His name is Alin Popescu, and Alin is now one of my best friends. And me and Alin met on a mountaintop in northern Romania called Piatra Neamț, and we just became friends. We just became best friends. And he was like, he wanted to make me the godfather of his son, his twin son. That's why I was actually there. One of the videos was like seeing my Romanian godson. So it's a running joke. Everybody's like, yo, it's like you're more Romanian than most Romanians are. And I'll go out to Slobozia, which is a couple hours away from Bucharest, and like I'm walking around this town with these two little white Romanian twins pushing a stroller. People thinking I'm like the nanny from Africa. It was just so much fun, and like being like Aline. Aside from a million reasons why I love Aline, Aline does not have a bigoted or racist bone in his body. If you look at Aline, Aline looks like an extra from Sons of Anarchy. He's got this big long beard and like wears motorcycle vest all the time, and like, but he's a wildlife photographer. He photographs birds, and like it's a running joke. I always he taught me 21.3% of the things I know about photography. He's just a brilliant photographer. But he's got his wife, he's got his kids, but it's just who he is as a human, to welcome everybody in, to welcome people in. He brought me in like a brother, like family, and everybody around him brought me in like a brother and family. His mom, his dad, it was just like I go there, and his father makes me. His father-in-law always tries to get me drunk. his mother always make me this dish called salata de bouffe, and it's a running joke. It's like it's salata de bouffe with chicken, like because bouffe sounds like beef, but salata de bouffe is made with chicken. So it's like a running joke. I'm running around eating like out of tub, and to an American, salata de bouffe is basically potato salad with meat in it. That's what it is. So just imagine a potato salad with shredded chicken in it. This is absolutely delicious. And I just walk around eating this stuff, and like people are like, "What? Who is this guy?" And when I remember when I started doing those Romania videos, Romanians loved it because they were like, "Thank you so much for showing our country and our culture in this way." I'm not out there doing, oh, these are the top 10 things to do in Bucharest, and this is why. No, I'm showing Romanians. I'm letting Romanian people tell the story. This is why I've always said that Anthony Bourdain is one of the greatest journalists of all time, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. Because what Anthony Bourdain did was Anthony Bourdain never told the story of the place. Anthony Bourdain allowed the place to tell the story. If you look back at his work, locals they taught. The entire time, the locals were teaching. He was just the catalyst. But locals taught you about Thai cuisine. They taught you about Burmese cuisine. They taught you about French cuisine. He just so happened to be the guy. And that's how I approach it. I'm like, look, let Romanians tell you what Romania is like. Because somebody going as a tourist to Transylvania is not going to truly be able to tell you what it's like there. But somebody who grew up there in Sibiu, and you know the deputy mayor of Sibiu, now a really good friend of mine. We became friends before he was deputy mayor, but he became the deputy mayor of his hometown, and he was doing tourism before, and that's how we actually met. He was doing tours, and we just became friends. And the pride that he had in his home just inspired me to. I was like, look, man, I just need to shut up and let the place tell the story. Just be here and just spend time in here and let it wash over me and absorb me. So it's like those videos, when I look back at those videos, I see friends, I see family, I see commonality, I see amazing food, I see the exact same thing that I grew up in. I hear the exact same conversations that we have. Oh, the kids are getting so big. Oh, where are we going to send the kids to school? What are we going to have for dinner? Oh, when's the next gathering? Whose house are we going to do that? The stories are identical. The food is the same. The love and the energy is identical. And I think that's why people really gravitate towards those videos. And I think that's just that's part of why I enjoy travel so much.
I love it. Absolutely. Please make more. We need that. And what equipment are you using?
I will.
Yes, please.
Huh?
What equipment do you use?
You know, I go through these equipment porn phases, as I like to call them. You know, I am a Sony guy. I used to be Canon. I actually started my photographic career way back, I was Nikon. I was on Nikon film. Then once digital took over, I switched to Canon digital. So the first 2 years of my career, I was actually on Canon. Then my Canon 7D got wet in Panama City, right on a harbor. I'll never forget this place. And it died. So I needed a camera because I was on assignment. So I go to the camera shop, and they were all out of Canon. So they had the new Sonys. So I was like, okay, I can shoot anything. So I bought the digital Sony thinking I was going to get something else when I got back home. Nope, been with Sony ever since. So I shoot for photography, I shoot the Sony A7 IV. I shoot for vlogging, I use the Sony ZV-1. But a lot more now, I use my phone, the S21 Plus now. I do most of the modern vlogs that I've done within the last few months, that's been with my phone. And I'm really considering just doing vlogs with my phone now because it pretty much, I'd say 85% of the stuff that I need it for, I can do it on my phone. And, you know, when it comes to this, the lighter the better. You know, the faster you move, the better. And I really honestly think that phones have finally caught up to a point where they can produce some pretty quality vlogs.
That's amazing.
But photography is always going to be, a big boy mirrorless on my hip.
Nice. And how do you find your assignments and how do you find work?
I'm at a point in my career where they kind of come to me. Like I look at my inbox and I always have 5 6 different job offers for photography to vlogs to website advertisement stuff, and I'm blessed to actually have a pretty good sized Rolodex now with contacts at most of the major publications. If I have an idea, I usually have a direct line to a lot of editors or decision makers. If going through a freelance phase where I kind of want to do some cool stuff, like I am right now coming out of COVID. I'm going to be doing a lot more conferences, like World Travel Market in London, ITB in Berlin. I want to say, I get a good 30% of my work from those as a influencer. And this whole influencer thing basically just gets me in the door to tell journalistic stories. So I kind of use that, and also just word of mouth, being in the community, being engaged in the community, and really teaching. I do a lot of teaching at a lot of conferences. I absolutely adore teaching photography, and specifically street and travel photography. That's what I am, a street and travel photographer. And I get a lot of jobs from that. Photography is not dead. Everybody thinks it is, but there's still a massive market for photography and for actual storytelling in photography. So yeah, most of my, but I will say most of my work definitely comes from having such a long career and a pretty good sized back catalog.
I love that. What motivates you to keep going?
Uh, uh Negativity. Every time I see, and that's where I'm at right now. That answer would probably change tomorrow. But right now is I'm seeing so much negativity in the world, and I just want to show people that no, it's not that bad. It's not that depressing. It's not that painful. Like there's you just got to change your perspective, your location, what you're consuming, your content, and this driving determination. You brought up earlier about my transition into looking after myself and health and wellness and ethical tourism and travel. Last February, I lost my grandmother and my father. They both passed away,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
and it put me in a really rough place because this year I'm about to be 40, and losing them at that point in my life, the two people who had been the most important adults in my world, it left this massive hole because it made me come face to face with my own mortality, something I never had to really do. Even as a soldier, I never had to really face my mortality because I'm immortal. Like that's just how our brains are until you start to lose the people who raised you, who built you, who made you who you are. And it put me on this path where what's my legacy? When it's all said and done, what is my legacy? And I want my legacy to be one of positivity, of love. When it's all over for me, you look at all the celebrities who are passing away within the last 10 years. These are my childhood. David Bowie and Prince and Michael Jackson and all these are just amazing creatives and artists who have gone now. And like, oh my God, like these people helped shape who I am as a person. What is my legacy going to be when my time's up, which could be 5 minutes from now? I want it to be one where people will look back like, man, that guy lived. He didn't just exist, but he lived life. In a world that's constantly telling you how angry you should be about every damn thing, you flip on social media and it's like, hey, you should be mad about this thing. I want to be
Right.
that thing where you turn on YouTube or you turn on Instagram and you're like, yo, like check this out. Like check out this amazing meal. Like check out this wonderful waterfall. Check out this great story. Like check this out. Hey, you want to go? Let me teach you how. Let me show you the way and the possibilities and opportunities. Like, hey, let me show you this person's story and how they got there and what they're doing. Like we constantly complain. We constantly complain about this negativity bias in these stories. I just want to be something different. I just want to be something else. I just want to be an alternative to what's being pushed around out there because negativity, that is toxic and it's easy. Negativity is
Yeah.
so easy. It's a lot more impressive to be positive and loving and high energy and focused and driven and determined than it is to just be angry and negative and blame everything and everybody else. So, you know, I wake up in the morning with a smile on my face, like, because I won. I already won.
Yeah.
I woke up. It's all downhill from here. The hard part's over. I
Right?
woke up because so many people didn't. If you
Right?
really think about it, how many people we know who won't wake up tomorrow? How
Yeah.
many people, and it might not be people that we know, but how many people on this planet won't wake up tomorrow? We waking up tomorrow. That's a victory. So if you walk out, you move through the world like, yo, I already won. Why am I can't be mad. I already won. It's all downhill from here.
Facts.
You okay,
Yes.
good. All right, keep it moving. You mad? All right, bro. Like, let me know if I can help you in any kind of way because I'm good. I'm having a good day. So it's like that like just having that just having a life where I'm actually living, I'm inspiring and I'm helping, that's more than enough motivation for me.
That's absolutely amazing.
No problem.
So I was wondering who inspires you? Like photographers, writers, people in general. Who inspires you?
Like just creatives in general. I'm an artist. I like stand for artists. I adore artists. I usually don't like follow like specifically like one artist. Like, oh my god, I love everything that they do. I just enjoy creativity, and not only just creativity, but creatives that explain their process and their thoughts and like why they look at the world the way that they do. Of course, there are luminaries like Gordon Parks, who I absolutely adore. James Baldwin, I loved his work. Vivian Meyer, Stephen Covey, I loved his work. I'm a big fan of actors and actresses like Helen Mirren, Octavia Spencer. I love her work, and the old Jerry Lewis. I love Jerry Lewis, Sammy Davis Jr. His work. I just love artists, like creatives in general. That's one really great thing about social media is exposed me to all these just amazing artists in different disciplines. You know, one of the great things I love about living in Asia is Asia has a culture of mastery. So you'll find people who've been making swords for 50 years, and people who've been doing paper mache for their whole life. And like you're exposed to just creatives, and just kind of triggers something in you as a creative. Like, oh man, this is what it's like. I think I'm a very good photographer. I don't think I'm great yet. I think it's like just a matter of that journey because I engage with so many amazing creatives constantly that I'm just constantly inspired to just do more and be better and try different techniques. So, general, just artists. I'm just inspired by all artists.
That's awesome. And you're mainly on Instagram and YouTube, is that correct?
Yes, Instagram, YouTube, but I'll be definitely doing a lot more writing. Starting next week actually. I'm back on my blog. So my blog was my number one medium for a while. And then I started to write so much for other publications and do ghostwriting for books and whatnot that I just didn't have time to write for my own site, and it kind of went by the wayside. So I've done an entire redesign and just updated it, changed the design, and I'll start to do other more narratives there, similar to what I do on Instagram now. It's always people always say like you write like mini blog posts. Like, yeah, that's just kind of the way I write things. I can't do small writing. Everything I write is in 500 words in my brain, so I have to put it down somewhere. So I definitely want to put it on my own real estate, and I'll be doing a lot more expansive writing on my website. But right now, it's really my focus is YouTube and Instagram for visual stuff, and then I'll be doing my blog for written content.
And not TikTok. And you recently posted something
No.
about your concerns with TikTok. Do you mind just sharing your thoughts about TikTok and that platform?
Yeah, I honestly believe TikTok at this point is really probably the most problematic and negative space on social media. I believe it's just too unregulated, uncontrolled, and I don't think the metaverse is much better. But at the very least, the metaverse there's a recency bias right now for me because TikTok just hasn't been taken to task by any real authority yet. but they are currently under investigation for privacy issues. And similar to what the metaverse has already paid billions in fines for to the EU and the States. Justice Department, I believe they ended up getting fined like 5 billion or something like that. But TikTok is it's a place where misinformation thrives. And recently, the thing that I posted the other day was they finally exposed that certain executives within TikTok were doing a thing called heating content. So they're picking and choosing directly, not an algorithm, but individuals were picking the content to promote and push out to more people. So certain things that went viral were actually planted and designed to be seen by as many people. They didn't report what that content was, but I have a funny feeling of what that content actually was, depending on what country you're in. So I have a deep mistrust for the Chinese government. Simply put, I have a long track list of things that I do not trust them, and we have seen how they control tech companies in that country, and and ByteDance happens to be a Chinese company. I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means. I just go based on what I see, actions of said company, of said government, and what's on the platform. And I just think TikTok is an extreme. It's just every single negative thing that people say about social media is magnified on TikTok. Privacy issues, body image, negative commentary, racism, all of that stuff is at a peak on TikTok. And even though I know it's not going to go anywhere, I know other platforms are not perfect, I just refuse to participate in that at all. To each their own, but TikTok is a place that you just won't find me. And I think it's important. People get on me, like a lot of my colleagues tell me. I literally ended up having a back and forth with a good friend of mine for an hour about why I should get on TikTok. How you kill it on TikTok and you make all this money. Like, money's not everything, man. Like, I'm good. I don't need TikTok. My career, I've built a career that is not reliant at all on social media, and B, I can see the negatives. Like, when I personally open TikTok, I'm inundated with negativity. Like, it's thrown at me no matter how I tailor my feed or algorithm. It's just stuff I don't want to see, constantly being fed and pushed down my throat. And I can imagine the young people, or even the older people, who it's part of their everyday, it's part of their all day, and what that does to their worldview and their psyche. So, again, I'm not defending Metaverse or YouTube, but I think it's significant. The problematic stuff is significantly less there, and I think TikTok's just negative. Maybe if it changes vastly in the future, I might find myself browsing it. But as of now, I want no participation in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. And for you, what goals do you have for yourself for this upcoming year?
Travel more, just explore a bit more. I want to become a lot more consistent on creating visual content. I definitely want to post more photography. I want to lean way more into photography. It got to the point where photography was more of a hobby again, if that makes any sense, as opposed to my work under COVID, because obviously a travel journalist that can't travel wasn't doing a lot. And I want to definitely get back to the professional realm again. I absolutely adore traveling around the world and taking photos and documenting different places, different peoples, different events. I definitely want to lean into YouTube a lot more, do a lot more work, a lot more conversation on YouTube, engage and interact with that community a lot more. And I definitely want to see more places. I've had a mission to go to every country in the world for a long time, and I've been stuck at 95 since 2018. So it's definitely time to kind of step that up a little bit. I want to finish up Europe and then make Australia and New Zealand number 99 and 100.
Nice. That's amazing. Now, if there's someone out there who's dreaming of a career like what you have, to do what you do, if there's anyone out there, like, what advice do you have for them?
Don't do it trying to be me or trying to be somebody else. I think we get so fascinated by the lives that people show us. You don't see the negatives of this life, of the backside. My daily routine starts at 6:30 a.m. I'm up and training I'm doing my cardio training. Then I come and I sit down at my computer. Then I go through my meals throughout the day. After lunch at around 1:32 p.m., I'm back in the gym doing powerlifting training. Then I come home and I'm right back at the computer, or I'm out on assignment and I'm shooting. Then I come back, and by the time I get in the evening, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm exhausted, going to bed by 10 or 11 o'clock to get up in the morning to do it all over again. That's the side that people don't see. People don't see the lost luggage. Like, I was just on a trip and Qatar Airways broke one of my bags. And it was the funny thing, it wasn't even my bag, it was a good friend of mine's bag. So I had to go through that whole process. Cameras break in, different things getting wet, like the Panama City story, trying to find clients and jobs. So it's don't do it because you're trying to be somebody else. And I think that's why you see so many young influencers get burned out, because they're chasing people who started 10, 15 years before they did. I don't wake up with 1 million followers, I'm a failure. No, we just started way before you did. We just built up this. We built to this, and I don't think people are showing or telling people that. And even the ones who are doing it, folks aren't listening because it's not glamorous or sexy. So do it and document your journey, your adventure, no matter where you're from. You don't have to be from a marginalized community. You don't have to be super rich. You just tell your story, because there's only one you. And sometimes that'll bring you 1 million followers and a lot of money. Sometimes it'll bring you 10,000 dedicated followers and a little money. But it'll definitely, if you show that commitment to it, you're going to be just fine. And that's the key. It's about that commitment, that decision to move forward, constantly moving forward, to innovate, to change, to adjust, and stay true to who you are as a person and your principles. It's very easy to chase that easy money. It's very simple. It's like, oh, hey, Minority Nomad, we have this weight loss supplement, and I'm like, but I'm a travel journalist. Why would I put this on my social media? Because we'll give you $2,000. No, I'm good. I appreciate it. So stay true to who you are and yourself. Get really good at something. Be really good at a thing, especially if you're young. Let's be clear. You will not be young. You will not be beautiful. You will not have money forever. You'll get in those positions where you have to rely on a skill set. At some point, you're going to have to rely on being really good at something. Pick something, anything, to just be good at, and push yourself to be good at that thing. And it just all comes down in the wash. I'm really terrible at giving advice, because people usually want these easy, followable clickbait track. I'm not that person. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It's tough doing what I do. That's why so few people do what I do, especially for a decade. But my gift has been that I never got into this for money, ever. I got into this to change the world, to change myself, to help people. If you come at this thing from a perspective that you want to help as many people authentically, not some bullshit. I've seen a lot of people, all these gurus out here saying they want to help you. I'm like, bro, you're selling the course. Stop it, okay? If you're coming at this authentically trying to help people, it's all going to come out. People, like the vast majority of folks, are going to see that, and they're going to engage with that, and they're going to understand that, and they're going to appreciate it and support you however they can. It might be $1 here, it might just be subscribing to a newsletter, it might be clicking something here, but in their way they're going to support it. It might just be, hey, if you ever come to Bangkok, I'll show you around. People are going to look out for you and support you. The startup is the worst part, but the commitment and the dedication, that's entirely on you. So if I had to, that's the advice I would give anybody, is really, like, you got to develop that discipline, that structure, that control. That's what gives you freedom. Discipline equals freedom.
I love that. That's amazing. Now, if people want to find you, read your work, check out the blog that you're redoing, check out your videos, your photography, where can they find you?
Minority Nomad. Just type in Minority Nomad in Instagram, YouTube, Google, and I'm going to definitely pop up. Some of my stuff, I mentioned in National Geographic, Travel and Leisure, Business Insider, Lonely Planet, Forbes. Erick Prince. So, also, by the way, my name is Erick Prince. Erick Prince, the Minority Nomad. So, yeah, really, and if anybody has any questions or comments or gripes or anything, just hit me up on social media, and I generally respond to everybody unless you're kind of an asshole, and then I just ignore you and block you.
That's amazing. I know it's late there, so I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for your time and what a journey you've been on. And it just makes me want to work even harder to accomplish my goals. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, thanks for reaching out. I'm glad we were able to put this together, and I appreciate you getting up and doing this. We're like 12 hours difference, so thank you so much for getting up early and having me on. I really appreciate it. This is so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're so patient and kind when I'm like, how about 1 p.m.? And you're like, that's like 2 a.m. here. And I'm like, oh, that's right,
Yeah.
you travel. So I appreciate you being flexible. So thank you so very much.
Yeah, no problem.
That was awesome. That's it for this episode with Erick Prince. On our next episode, we talk with Ed Fox. And this is a man who has been a successful entrepreneur since he was a teenager.
Risk adverse, and sometimes we just got to put ourselves out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you sell the shop. You said you went to Brisbane. What was next for you after that endeavor?
Well, in Brisbane, I was working duty free. Oh, before I went to Brisbane, I actually got involved in a multi-level called Amway, and had been one of the youngest, most successful builders of Amway in our organisation in my part of the country, and put like 800 people in my downline in the first 4 months. And I was a guy that didn't like to stand up in front of people and talk. I know that's hard to believe now, but back in the day, I was the kid in 8th grade that hid in the library because I couldn't talk to anybody.
Hey, thanks for listening to Journey to the Rise. Please do follow us on your podcast app so you have the latest episode downloaded. If you want to follow us on Instagram, our account is at Journey to the Rise Podcast. This episode was researched, produced, and edited by Girl Boss Productions. Please remember to be kind to you and fill your cup up with love. When we are kind to ourselves, it makes it easier to be kind to others. I'm Lucretia, and you've been listening to Journey to the Rise.